Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe.
Randy Orton fakes an injury. Drew McIntyre has a sexy body. And stop the presses, a wrestling wedding doesn't quite go to plan. I know, I'm as shocked as you are. I am Luke Owen. Press the thumbs up and subscribe buttons. And get ready to watch me review the 30th of December 2019 edition of Monday Night Raw, the last one of this decade, in about 5 minutes. But let's be honest, it's going to go longer than that because we've got a wedding to cover. The show opened with Kevin Owens cutting a fiery promo that was undercut by him constantly throwing to the video screen to recap previous storylines, like AOP attacking him, Samoa Joe turning babyface, and Andrade winning the United States Championship at Madison Square Garden. Seth Rollins and AOP security came out for a big brawl that awesomely saw the full main roster babyface debut of Samoa Joe. He looked so freaking cool as he brawled alongside Kevin Owens, and security ran down to break it all up, with Owens doing a huge senton dive onto everyone. This was an awesome start to the show, and later we saw security had escorted all 5 men from the building. Aleister Black and Buddy Murphy had a TLC rematch that mirrored their first encounter, with the crowd not giving a single S-word about either guy. But unlike TLC, this crowd eventually got into the match, sharing it with much deserved "This is awesome" chants. The two work brilliantly together, and Black picked up the win after 2 black masses. Sadly, what started as a hot show became a bit of a slog. Eric Rowan squashed an enhancement talent and his Green Lantern tattoo. Gee, we haven't seen that before. Charlotte Flair entered herself into the Royal Rumble, then had a pedestrian match with Natalya. Becky Lynch brilliantly said that her contract is coming up with WWE, but won't start negotiations until she beats Asuka at the Royal Rumble. I really love her motivation in this storyline. We got another video package for Liv Morgan. The OC came out to cut a promo, which was interrupted by Street Profits, who then beat Gallows and Anderson in a competitive match. I know that was a quick recap, but I've got a wedding to cover and I'm against the clock. Drew McIntyre boasted about his sexy body and then squashed Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins very quickly. Randy Orton teased retiring due to a knee injury before revealing to AJ Styles that it was all a ruse by RKOing him out of nowhere. This was actually a really great segment that I want to spend more time on, but there is a wedding to talk about and I'm against the clock. Andrade threatened to DDT a lad on the concrete before Ricochet made the save, who then lost to Andrade due to Zelina Vega interference. Rey Mysterio gets an antiquated rematch clause against Andrade next week. And then, we got the wedding. First off, there was a big giant cake there, which made me think Vicky Guerrero was going to return so she could go through it. Bobby Lashley copied my wedding outfit by wearing a waistcoat and no shirt. How bloody dare you! And Lana is still being called the Ravishing Russian because of reasons. Lana really was the star of this segment though, doing what she has done since this angle first started, throwing herself into this dumb storyline and acting her ass off. She screamed over the Rusev Day chants by saying it was actually Lana Day, and hilariously said this was the luckiest day of Lashley's life because he gets to marry her. She even wrote Bobby's wedding vows, which got a laugh out of me. So far, so standard. And then it got bonkers. During the any man or woman here present bit of a wedding, some random guy came out and said that he married Lana at 18, but she left him for Rusev and she'll leave Lashley too, so Lashley beat this stranger up. Then some random woman came out to say that she married Lashley when she was younger and got slapped in the face by Lana for her troubles. So we're getting Rusev next year? No. We got the return of Liv Morgan. Man, I bet all those people that weirdly thought she was going to be Sister Abigail are going to be pissed. And 3 years after Stephanie McMahon promised WWE fans that we'd be getting seriously told LGBTQ storylines, Morgan revealed that she and Lana are lovers to get a cheap pop. Way, lesbians, catfights, let's. But it's not done there, folks, because Rusev burst out of the giant cake to attack Lashley, and Liv pushed Lana's face into the frosting to stand tall. I honestly don't know what people were expecting, but this should have all come as no surprise from a Paul Heyman booked wrestling wedding. I'm actually stunned there weren't more lesbians. It was bonkers, it was stupid, it went too long, but I did kind of love it. It is a shame that this is the LGBTQ storyline we were promised 3 years ago, and it sucks for Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, but I can't say I hated the segment overall. I was sports entertained. So that was this week's Raw in about 5 minutes or so. Vote in the poll above my head to let me know what you thought of the show, where you could choose from Rawsome, Core, Average, Poor, and Rawful. The first 2 segments were great, the AJ Randy angle was awesome, and the wedding was silly, stupid fun. Everything else was just filler. This week's Raw was a high average. And now let's head over to Pete with the news to see how WWE stars reacted to that wedding. Hot tag, Pete.
Nice review, Luke. Well, that wedding was, it was something, wasn't it? With the general fan consensus being, well, I guess, confusion more than anything else, there's a couple of WWE stars who have commented on Lana and Lashley's celebration, with the inclusion of Liv Morgan and her declaring her love for Lana. Didn't think that was a sentence I'd be saying today. Mandy Rose tweeted out to say, "No words, ... annoyed deadpan straight face emoji." While the other half of Fire and Desire and the first openly lesbian WWE star, Sonya Deville, tweeted out to say, "Well, my mind is blown," while also responding to Mandy's tweet saying, "I know, my friend, I know. Literal mind-blown exploding mushroom cloud emoji." Both of them seem a bit miffed about the proceedings, and arguably, quite rightly so. WWE's chief brand officer and woman who literally created women's wrestling and all women, Stephanie McMahon, had previously promised more LGBTQ storylines going forward on WWE programming. Speaking to NBC Out, McMahon said, "When it makes sense, absolutely we will integrate LGBT storylines into our programming." And while no set date was met, she would go on to say that it would happen in the near future. Oh, and by the way, this interview took place in 2016. Since then, a grand total of 0 have happened so far. Well, 1, I guess now, if you can even call it that. Why this has presumably upset Mandy and Sonya so much is due to the pair repeatedly pitching an LGBTQ storyline idea to WWE Creative, which obviously has never transpired. On the preview for a season premiere of Total Divas, which was mysteriously cut from the actual episode, Sonya said, "Mandy and I are meeting with the producers to pitch the first ever LGBTQ storyline in the WWE. This is Mandy and I's moment. This is where we prove ourselves. The story of my life. I'm the comeback kid. I always start as the underdog, but I'm confident that I'll prevail." Sonya and Mandy had a moment on SmackDown earlier this year that seemed to suggest a level of intimacy slightly higher than friends, after Sonya Deville managed to beat Ember in about 2 minutes. But it was edited out of the YouTube version and never mentioned again. Perhaps this was Sonya and Mandy taking things into their own hands and going slightly off script, which was then quickly shot down by Vince, or perhaps they began the story but then got cold feet over it, and instead they decided to run the story with 2 blonde women. Take from that what you will. In the Every Drop storyline of 2019 video that I did over the Christmas period, I mentioned the Mandy and Sonya storyline being dropped, and I said I was thankful they dropped it because I didn't trust WWE, specifically Vince, to handle the storyline delicately and with respect. Paul Heyman isn't much better either, with his history of Mike and Maria Kanellis and Rusev and Lana storylines. This would be exactly why I said that, because now we've got Liv Morgan and Lana instead, and Liv is crazy, guys. It's not exactly the sort of representation the LGBT community would want going into 2020. Meanwhile, on SmackDown, Mandy Rose is tied up in a romance story with Otis instead of with Sonya, and the pair are teasing a split, with Otis seemingly coming between Mandy and Sonya. One can only imagine the frustration the pair must be feeling at the moment. But let's forget that whole Liv Morgan thing. The question that's really on everyone's minds is, who were those people who claimed to be Lana and Lashley's first spouses? According to PW Insider, the person who claimed to be Lana's first husband was indie wrestler EJ Risk, who came out of Create a Pro School and WrestlePro, the promotion co-founded by Kurt Hawkins and WWE producer Pat Buck.
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
The woman who claimed to be Bobby's first wife we've actually already seen on WWE programming a few times. Her name is Carissa Rivera, and she lost to Lacey Evans on the November 14th episode of NXT in 2018, and she also teamed alongside the now AEW star Chris Statlander as the Brooklyn Bells in a loss to the Iconics on SmackDown earlier this year in April.
Now I know.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe!
On top of that, several wrestlers from Creator Pro were booked as wedding guests, while the officiant was a local actor.
Now we know.
Has there been a major WWE injury? Press the video to the right to find out more, and the video below that to find out more about WWE being sued over the XFL. A special thank you to our pledge hammers on Patreon, some of whom you can see scrolling below me right now. I've been Chubba Pete Quinnell. That was wrestling.